Hey guys, Shane here with Etrailer.com. Today I have a 2005 KZ New Vision fifth wheel travel trailer, and we're going to be installing the Solera powered awning conversion kit. Adding this conversion kit is going to make it a lot easier when you get to your campsite. Because when we go out camping somewhere, we don't want to take all this time setting up our camper. We want to make it a lot easier so we can get to enjoying our weekend. The nice thing about it, it's going to be battery operated. Unlike some of the other ones you have to find powered wire or 12-volt wire. You have to run a wire inside to try and find that power source. This one has a battery in it, so it makes it very simple. With a simple push of the button, you can retract and extend your awning. With this kit, it's going to be a very easy upgrade. If you think about it, if you have a manual or Dometic awning, you always have to get out the pole, you have to reach up, you have to unlock it, grab the strap, pull it out, and lock it in place. You have to unlock the arms. There's just a lot of work in it. This makes it very easy to just simply come out, push the button, extend your awning, and you're ready to go. With this being battery operated, it is going to give you about 20 to 25 uses. It's going to take about 48 hours to fully charge the battery. When installing it, you plug it in for about 5 minutes. It's going to allow you to use that to help you get it installed. It's going to come with the battery pre-installed in the arm. It's going to come with a charger, and it's going to come with a switch already installed in the arm. Each one of those parts can be replaced and can be found here at Etrailer.com. Your chargers are going to look like this, and it's simply going to plug right here in the bottom of your switch. This plug will sit up inside here when you're not using it. One thing to keep in mind, above the switch there's another plug where it looks like this, and it plugs into the wire that runs up to the motor. You want to make sure you're not plugging the charger into that plug because that will drain the battery. Always plug into the one coming out of the bottom of the arm. We'll go ahead and plug our charger in. Go over a few things here. So when we first plug it in, when we're charging our battery, this light's going to be red. When it's fully charged, this light's going to turn green. I will tell you, after 24 hours, it is going to turn green. Make sure you leave it charged to get fully charged for 48 hours, as I mentioned before. As I mentioned, this is a conversion kit. So what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to replace your arms, but still use your Dometic roller and fabric, if that's something that you're not replacing. It's going to come with the caps in the kit to replace the end caps so they work with these arms. There are also kits available where you can get the arms with the roller like we have here. Another nice feature that I really like about this setup is, let's say we're out camping and we forgot to charge our battery from the last few trips that we took. We're going to have a manual drive up at the top that we can put a socket in, and it's going to allow us to extend and retract our awning. Keep in mind that the manual override is going to be a little bit high. It's going to be on the top of the arm, so you will have to have a ladder. We're going to have a manual pitch adjustment, which is this arm here. Then you simply pull on it. Let's say the sun's coming in at an angle here, and we want to drop one of the corners. We can simply pull this, and it'll allow us to drop one corner. This bolt that goes through here, if you find that this is a little bit tight, maybe not as easy to pull down, you can adjust that, loosen it up a little bit to make it a little bit easier. Another nice feature that I really like about it is when it's raining, with your older canopies that you had to pull out, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes if it starts raining, you have to go down and you have to lower one of the arms. With this one, it's automatic. When water starts pulling up on the canopy, it's automatically going to drop one side to dump the water off so it doesn't pull up. When it comes to installing this, you can see this arm here, we're in between the door and where our slide out comes out. You want to make sure that you install it far enough over that if you put a slide topper on, or if you already have one on, that this arm is not going to interfere with that roller. You also want to make sure that it's not going to interfere with your handle or anything else that you may have on your door side here. Another thing to keep in mind is you want to make sure when installing it, the canopy is at least 2.5 inches from the top of the door. One thing to keep in mind is when mounting this on the wall, you want to make sure you have open wall space, no obstructions, because these brackets do mount flat up against the wall. They're going to come in black or white, and they're going to come in different sizes depending on your setup. In my professional opinion, I think this is a very easy way to give yourself that powered awning without having to run wires inside the camper RV. We're not going to have to get out that pole anymore, unlock it, to drag it out and put it back in. Installation is going to be pretty simple and straightforward. Keep in mind, it's a good idea to have a couple people to help you out. Let's go ahead and walk you through how to get it installed now. To start our installation, we've gone ahead and removed our old awning. You'll notice, we come right over here, where our old brackets were, we have holes. Our new arms are probably not going to line up with those, so what we're going to do is we're going to take some silicone and we're going to seal those up. You want to make sure you scrape off any old sealant that may be on there, and make sure you wipe it off so the new sealant will stick. What I'm going to be using is LaSalle Bristol's non-sag sealant. You can find it here at Etrailer. And I'm going to squirt it in the hole, kind of come out just a little bit. And then we'll just wipe off our excess. This kit is going to give you instructions if you're installing it on your old roller and awning. They don't really make it clear. They're actually showing what it looks like to me. They're showing actually leaving it in and taking the old arms off. Make sure you follow directions if you're doing that. I suggest actually taking it all the way off and doing it on the ground. It's going to make it a lot easier. We're actually going to be putting a new roller on, so we're not going to be using the old one. So we're actually going to be skipping about half of those steps and going right to installing the rails onto the awning. You want to make sure when you lay your awning down that as it rolls, it's going to roll over the top and not underneath. You're going to have two arms. One's going to have a drive head and it's going to have this little plug on it. You want to make sure that's on the correct side. On your arm and on your roller, there's a hole right here, there's a hole right there. We're going to line up these two holes. Slide our arm into place. We're going to have a little screw. It's going to look like this. It's a self-tapper square bit. We're going to drive that into place. We want to make sure we're not sinking it all the way down. We want to leave about an 1/8 inch gap so we don't compress our end cap here. You're going to repeat that same thing on the other side. Your instructions are going to tell you to use silicone on any of the bolts you're putting into the sidewall. I recommend not only using silicone but using butyl tape. This isn't going to come in your kit, but you can find it here at Etrailer. I think this is a great product. It's really going to help seal those holes. It's going to go on the back side of the bracket, and when the bolt goes through, it's actually going to grab some of this and take it into the hole to help seal it, and then we'll silicone around it after we're done. So we'll take a little piece on the back side of each arm. We're going to have two holes on each side. This bracket runs across. We're going to take a piece and we're going to cover those two holes like that on each side. And we're going to make sure we do this on both arms. On the end of this rail, before we slide our canopy in place, what I suggest is where it comes straight out, take the corners and kind of bend them out a little bit. The reason to do that is as we're sliding our canopy in, we don't want these corners to grab onto the canopy and potentially rip it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get a couple extra people. We're going to take the bead side, and we're going to feed it into our rail like this. We'll have one person holding one arm, one holding the other, and we'll just walk it through the track. Go ahead and pull off the back on our butyl tape. Make sure we're centered. We're going to take this bracket and we're going to go right up against the bottom of this rail. And make sure if we're going by the door here that we're going to have enough room to get our handle opened. Push it into place. Take a 3/8 socket, extension. We'll drive our bolts right through the butyl tape, through the bracket, into the wall. We're just going to be installing the top bolts first on each side. We'll get our top two in on each side, and then we can put in our remaining bolts in the bottom two holes. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our zip ties. Make sure that you hold the arm when you do this Because if you don't, the tension on the arm, the spring in the arm, is actually could potentially make this thing unroll real fast. So just hold it and let it unroll slow. Next thing we're going to do is we want to make sure that we roll our canopy all the way in. This center pin, there's 2 holes right above it on the back side. We're going to take some butyl tape and we're going to put it across those 2 holes. We're going to do this on both arms. We're going to put it across those 2 and across the very bottom 2. Once you get that on, you can peel off the paper. So the best way to do this is measure your top of the arm here across, get the distance, measure the bottom so you have the same distance, so that way they're not leaning one way or the other. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to roll it back out so we can mount our bolts. It's a good idea to plug your battery in, go ahead and charge it. It will move after about 5 minutes per their instructions. If for some reason it doesn't, there's a manual override. Just use a socket and you can get your awning to come out to open it up as you need it. On our drive arm, we're going to have these panels in here that are covering our wires. We need to, actually we won't need to pull that one, we just need to push this one up so we can get to those 2 holes and make sure we have access to these 2 holes. Just make sure you don't damage your switch. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our bolts, we're going to run through the 2 bottom holes and then the 2 middle holes that we put our butyl tape on. I would suggest kind of centering them in the hole if you can, so that if you need to adjust the arm just a little bit, you can do that. And make sure we don't damage our wires. Once you get one arm done, repeat the process on the other side. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to roll our canopy out. And what we're looking for is to see if there's any twist in the canopy as it comes off the roller. So if you look at the roller where the canopy is rolling up on, as you roll it up, if that starts to move off the line, we can adjust our canopy in the track. So we'll roll it back in. Looks like it might be pulling this way just a little bit. So it seemed like it was kind of rolling that way just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my canopy here. We can kind of slide it this way. We'll try it one more time. Once you're happy with the way your canopy is rolling up, in your kit, you're going to get 2 black self-tappers. They're going to look like this. You're going to use a 1/4 inch socket. What we're going to do, from the edge of the canopy, about 1 inch in on your rail, we're going to drive it straight through the rail and through the bead that is holding the canopy inside the rail. And what that's going to do, it's going to keep our canopy from shifting back and forth. We're going to put one of these at both ends. That's going to do it for a look at and installation on the Solera 18V power RV awning.